Welcome to Pass It On, Connecting Soul to Soul, a podcast introducing you to courageous souls. These people are taking their spark in life and passing it on, lighting their corner of the world. I'm your host, Tammy Sturr, best-selling author, speaker, and CEO of Author My Day, a company inspiring courage. I interview people about how they exercise their courage muscle and use their story to inspire you to live with a courageous heart. Let's get started with today's guest. Maria Magdalena Carter, a native of Austin, Texas, is a children's book author whose writing celebrates childhood wonder and mindfulness. With a Bachelor of Arts in English from the University of Texas of Austin, Maria crafts bedtime stories, fostering connection and relaxation between children and their caregivers. Her debut book, Goodbye Today, is woven with warm memories of her multi-generational family, blends poetry with early stage mindfulness practices. This is saying a lot about who Maria is. When not writing, Maria enjoys hiking on her ranch, creating family-inspired Airbnb spaces, which we'll be talking about today, and traveling with her family. Her favorite bedtime ritual includes chamomile tea with honey. You are such a peaceful person, right? As you have your tea, you have this relaxing book, and you have these great spaces to relax at Airbnbs. Maria, welcome to Pass It On, Connecting Soul to Soul.
Oh, thank you, Tammy. It's such a pleasure to be here and to spend time with you. It's been such an awesome experience working with you in this area, and I'm just grateful to be here.
And so, for the people that are listening, Maria and I met through our publisher, and that is our relationship. And it's just been a joy to be on this year-long journey with Maria. And I knew I wanted you as a podcast guest
Oh,
because you're so peaceful to be around.
oh, thank
And
you.
I just love that. So, what spark do you want to be in the world, Maria?
It's funny you say that. I've, had to cultivate those moments of peace. I'm, just like anyone else. And so what creating those rocking chair moments, sometimes it's such a very simple thing. And for me, it's about happier, healthier, connected families. And I think, but how do we create that? And it's moment by moment. And so one of the ways I think that enduring spark that happened with my children was I looked back now that they're 20 and almost 18 and almost 15. And we had all of those just rocking chair moments that I didn't even think about at the time. But it almost creates this rhythm, this ritual of finding those moments of peace. And so I think it's that we're in a busy world. As a mom, I'm super busy. I'm still taking kids to school and cultivating those moments. I kind of think for me, that rocking chair really just activates it, creating a space for yourself. Um, yeah, kind of to come home and then for your family to come home.
Right. And you balance between taking your kids to school as well as some homeschooling. Is that right?
Yes, all the kids have had some level of homeschooling throughout their childhood. We really have done private school, some homeschool, a lot of travel school. And my daughter has homeschooled pretty much from the beginning. She did a little bit of Montessori schooling. So yeah, this morning I dropped my son off at high school. He's a freshman. And I came and, had tea with my husband and then get to talk to you. So really it is kind of moving through life as it comes. And I still, those for me are sacred moments, taking my son to school, picking him up, and preserving as much of those things as I can while doing the things I love as well beyond that.
And tell us a little project that inspired that kangaroo behind you. I think your mom asked for a favor or something there, didn't she?
Yes, well, actually, we have Airbnbs in the hill country, and my mom and I work together still. So my mother is the host, Mary, and during COVID, actually, we were living at our farm in Wimberley, Texas, full time. We moved there with the kids. They were able to roam. Schooling was a little bit easier out there. And during that time, we acquired a baby kangaroo, Molly. And so the inspiration for Molly the marsupial in this book in Goodbye Today. But yeah, so my mom and I had the opportunity to raise, I said my fourth child was a kangaroo. And so I would strap on Molly when she was a baby and make a pouch out of a robe. I had this little bag, and then I'd tie my robe strap around my waist, and she'd sit with me there. Then as she grew up, she'd kind of be in the kitchen, and because it was cold that winter. And so we learned a lot through the process of raising a kangaroo. And my mom's a nurse and was a teacher, so she was just a natural. So yeah, it was a very bonding experience, very unexpected, and really brought a lot of unexpected learnings and gifts through that process.
Wow. What's one of your most favorite memories with Molly?
The rocking chair moment, I think, as your kids get older, they're not sitting on your lap anymore. And that really, I would say, that co-regulating feeling like that you're giving them love and you're also receiving so much from that moment. Well, I would have to create that connection, for the baby, the kangaroo baby, and just all those instincts kick back in. So I would sit in the rocking chair with Molly. My kids were on the couch next to, I'd have her on my belly and I'd be rocking this thing. So that was probably one of the most, I think it made me tune back into how important that was
Mm.
and seeing the impact it had even on a being outside of my children. And one of the things that happened while Molly was with us, one of my dear friends who was going through cancer treatments came to the ranch to visit. And she didn't know, um, we had the kangaroo. It was just kind of a last minute visit. And she actually, I said, why don't you hold Molly and spend? And so she did. And then she had her checkup like the next week. And the doctor was like, what did you do? Your readings are the best they've ever been. And she said, I rocked a kangaroo. And it was just that how important soothing our nervous system, just creating those moments of peace, the impact it can have not only on our mood, um, but our well-being. So that was a really, I kind of filed that one away. I was like, wow, there's something here, right?
Um, Actually, so I was in the airport. I was flying back to Houston on Saturday, and there was a lady that sat beside me, and they were coming down to Houston for a baptism. And she's telling me about her grandson, and I had your book in my
Oh,
bag. And so I pulled it out and said, I think your grandson needs this book.
wow. Thank
And
you.
so, and I borrowed it from my granddaughter. So now I need to make sure that I get on Amazon and replace it for her.
That's awesome. That was one of the intentions. I remember even talking to in the process of like, I want something that fits in the diaper bag
Mhm.
because I remember we traveled a lot and so I had to create moments away from home. And I was like, I want a book that fits in the diaper bag. It's easy to travel with and that doesn't take a lot of time. It's kind of the simplest words, the simplest actions that kind of can quickly just settle you down. And so that's awesome. Um, it fit in your travel bag. I love
It did. It did.
it.
And they were going to Austin for the baptism.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like, this is so funny. I'm like, you have to look this lady up. And she's like, I am.
Oh, thank you,
So
Tammy.
it was very cool. So Maria, tell us about a project you're working on now, either personally or professionally.
Well, the book, Goodbye Today, is, as you know, this is my first book. And so getting this out, you've done this and you're amazing books. I love your books, Tammy, as well. And so um, really it came out in Christmas and I love the milestones. So Valentine's, Easter, how can I share this book at those milestone moments with my own family and people? So one of the projects between now and Easter is I'd love to have a reading at the ranch
Mm.
for friends and with the kangaroos and to learn a little bit about the kangaroos as well. So that's something that's come as a request. So I would love to be able to say yes to that and make that possible. The hill country in spring is beautiful. And I think creating those sensorial moments, those memories that I really love that. So that's a project. And same, our Airbnbs, we have two Airbnbs in the hill country. So a lot of what this is our wedding and then entering into our reunion season. So every year we get more and more weddings and family reunions. And we have one family coming back for their seventh year. And so me and my mom and my team at the ranch just making space for people. I really love that. And then I love hearing how they spent their time together. And what they created in the space. We had one lady, the 90-year-old grandmother did an Italian cooking lesson for all her grandchildren at the lodge. And they wrote us about it. And I was like, I love those. That reminds me of me and my grandma doing tamales or coming together and those things. And so I just love hearing the stories.
So I was on your website and
Yeah.
I was looking at your Airbnbs there, and I'm like, I think we're soul sisters. I cannot get enough of log cabins, and I cannot get enough of the beach and beach houses.
Oh, I say I'm a surf and turf girl, Tammy. I grew up in Austin and I'd spend summers going deep sea fishing at the Texas coast. And that was like, I think, you kind of had me there. And my husband is a beach lover and grew up in a farm in Nebraska. So it kind of really works. And I feel really fortunate that we share so many of those passions. Um, but yes, it's funny when things are brought your way and you don't really you know, each of those properties came to us in a very unexpected time from the people that the kind of families that had had them. And they were, in their 80s and 90s and said, we think you should take this over. We were their neighbor and had a small place. And like, I don't know how to do this. But something in you says yes, and you find a way. And I'm
Which
glad we did.
you might be hinting at my next question, because looking back, what was a project you worked on or an action you took that you had to exercise your courage muscle?
Yes, that saying yes to taking on a ranch when we had little kids. We had a 10-acre kind of second home we had bought in Wimberley, Texas. And it was like a little, like, kind of what we realized taking 3 kids on a plane is a lot of work, but we both really missed country life and nature. And so we had this little second home. And through our neighbors, they came to us one day and asked, this may not be in your life plan, but we really think you should take over this ranch. And it was almost like they were our little fairy godmother and godfather of this little experience. And they're like, we'll help you, we'll guide you, but I think and so my husband and I thought on it. And the next day we're like, I think that's a yes. And that's since turned into 3 more neighbors coming in. So we've acquired back and restoring these legacy farms and trying to preserve as much of the land as possible and then open them up also to folks to enjoy and experience. And so I think that definitely was a leap of faith, I would say. And did I ever think I would be birthing cows and rocking kangaroos and, trying to take troughs of water to horses and the ice storm freezes, those are things that have definitely made us step up and figure it out. And so, yeah, I would say the ranch has brought me a lot of courage muscle exercises.
Oh, how neat.
Yeah.
Maria, how do you define courage? And why does courage matter?
Mm. You know, I'm a little older now, and so the way I defined it when I was younger and the way I define it now have shifted. And for me, it's the commitment to be your authentic self. For me, is courage, and I think it is that place, that integrity, that makes you take the commitment, take action in the world. And I think why it's important to have courage is I think we're all brought in with a unique signature. There's only one Maria Magdalena Carter. I may share a name with someone else, but and so I think it takes tremendous courage to be authentic, to be yourself, and to bring that to the world um, the best you can. And I think when I was young, I played violin for about 12 years. I still do, but don't get as much time. And looking back, it was that moment of kind of being in stillness and tuning your instrument as you're preparing for the orchestra. And so I remember, gosh, it would take hours. It would take learning how to tune it, practicing at home in my busy home. I'd have to practice in my bathroom because it had the best acoustics, and I'm the oldest of 5 kids. There was always a ton of people. And so I went through that process. But then there's a moment where you step on a wooden stage and then you bring that to the orchestra, and then everyone plays, and you can literally feel the floor vibrate. And that's like what I feel like when you have the courage to be your authentic self, bring your instrument, bring yourself, show up fully. man, it's extraordinary, like the possibilities of that when we do that in the world.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah, it is. I look historically too, and I think about courage a lot because it's almost like to move to peace, to love, to joy.
mhm,
Courage is kind of the little throughway, right?
mhm, mhm,
You have to kind of cross over in a way to this other shore and like move through all those things that get in the way of finding your joy, finding your peace, finding your authentic happiness. And no one can really script that for you. And I think that's why at the end of Goodbye Today, it's almost this happy little accident. There's two blank pages at the end of the book. And the dedication is to have the courage to write your own story. And so I really do, that's something having children has really let me see how unique they are as human beings. And wow, part of my job is to let their authentic self be in the world. And I think children really brought that to me in a whole different way. Like they're all for me and they're three completely distinct individuals.
mhm,
So as a mom, it takes a lot of courage to let them be who they are, you know, even when it's difficult.
mhm. Who comes to mind when you think of a courageous individual?
Well, everyday courage, my mom. My mom's always been just a force. Um, and I can see it more now, all those little choices she had to make. She's the oldest of seven children. And my grandfather, her father, passed shortly after I was born. So
Okay.
my mom really had to take on kind of a lot. She had two children, six much younger siblings, my grandmother who only spoke Spanish, and she still managed to get a master's degree at University of Texas, be a nurse, and be an extraordinary mom. And I admire her courage. I've learned a lot through her own, I would say, the imperfections of tr figuring it out and still kind of choosing love at every turn. And so mom, for sure. And I think historically, I'm not very far from Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. And that was a place I really loved as a kid. I am a nature lover growing up in Austin. That's just part of what I love about this town. But I came across when I was in the gift shop there, she and uh, uh, President Lyndon Baines Johnson, her husband, wrote letters to each other. And so I got to read this book of letters between them during the presidency. I went to LBJ High School, so I've always been kind of intrigued. But yeah, so her devotion, I think took tremendous courage, but also her legacy beyond that as a woman, really she took this idea and had enough commitment to her belief in it to create this, find the people, find the resources to create the Wildflower Center, which her courage then allows me to still go there, allows the volunteers to go there, allows children and family of all walks of life to have sanctuary in the middle of the city and inspiration and beauty. And so that kind of courage is really inspiring to me. Um, it takes, I think, devotion and commitment to an idea and to yourself and a self-trust.
Well, it's going on my bucket list now.
If you ever want to hike, Tammy, when you're in Austin, I'll go with you.
Yay.
Yeah.
So, so this one life,
Mhm.
tell me more. What inspired this? And from what I saw, it was established in 2015. So, what
Mhm.
has 10 years shown you? And what inspired this one life?
I would say I started out when we started having children. That was between my son and my daughter being born. And for me, those pregnancies were really a time of introspection and creativity. I had worked a corporate job and we started our own company prior. And similar to what you asked about courage, what I thought when I was younger, how I had created my career, my life up to that point was very goal oriented, very much how we grow up. And um, I think at that point, I remember asking myself the question, what would I love? Versus not like, what do I want to achieve? But I started asking myself, what would I love? What would I love to experience? And what are the moments that I'm stringing together to kind of create my life as a family at that point? and it shifted, my energy shifted a little bit through those pregnancies, I think. And it made me start asking different questions. And not to say the other ones weren't still there, and actually things that are super important. But I started asking myself that and really tuning into what are the things that make me feel connected to myself, connected to the people I love. And writing was one of them. I think I've journaled since, I mean, honestly, don't know how long. Writing was always a way for me in stillness to kind of um, ask those questions first. And so I came back to it. And I found my very first journal I still have. It's a little butterfly journal. And I have now probably 6 bins of journals. So I started writing during that time. Yeah. And that was sort of my space to think out what I realized there were other women in my world that were asking these same questions, and we were starting to get together much more. And it was a space for kind of that thought process to happen.
How neat. How neat.
Mhm.
What's next for Maria?
What's next? Well, next week I go to Barcelona. So
Yay.
I'm Mexican and Spanish descent. I have never been to Spain. That has been on my dream list. And my husband and I are going after Valentine's. And so travel for me is really creative, spiritual in a way. I love experiencing other cultures. And when I get to speak Spanish, it brings out something in me as well. And so I'm really excited about that. And like I said before, spring is my season. My birthday's in May. So between, I would say, Easter and May, um, I think that's where my heart loves inviting people in, creating space for moments that have mean a lot in my life. You know, Easter egg hunts on the lawn, um, birthday celebrations for my husband, our kids finishing up school. You know, this year we have some family travel planned. So really it is, you know, each month I have a big calendar on my wall, and the first thing I put in are the moments that we want to experience. And then I have a blank calendar that's right in front of me. It's just white with open things. And so the first thing I look at is a blank calendar and realize this is my day to write. I have to let go of everything that came yesterday. That's part of what's Goodbye Today is. And um, then on the right, I have all those moments that are the milestones that we want to experience. And then everything gets laid over that. So um, I say the calendar is a sign of our commitment. Of course, it shifts as life shifts, and so I'm always aware of that. Um, and for me, this little book has probably been the best accountability thing to myself of remembering those things because I forget to. It gets busy.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's helped
Will,
me as well.
will there be a Spanish version of your book?
You know, my mom said the same thing, and yes, I would love to do that. And so I got to figure out the rhythm of the words, but yes, I would love to do some Spanish writing.
How neat. So you can do your own translation then.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I can.
I know
My
some
mom was a
authors,
bilingual ed teacher for one point. So yeah, I have some good resources in this department.
right? Well,
Yeah.
how can podcast listeners best connect with you?
Beth, I'm on Instagram at This One Life Maria. I'm also on Substack. I'm starting that This One Life on Substack as well. And I have a website, www.thisonelife.com. So This One Life will pretty much get you to me wherever you go. Yes.
What words would you like to leave with our listeners today?
Well, Tammy, just think for me, gratitude always comes when and I'm just so grateful. I think the book is the product, but I get teary thinking about it. But it's the experience. And you have been,
I'm right
it
here
wouldn't,
with you.
this wouldn't have been possible without you. your encouragement, you leading the way with having an idea in your heart that you wanted to share with others. When I saw Jack's Goes to Heaven, your book, it was just like, this is beautiful and this is possible. And um, getting to connect with you through the process and learn your own journey helped me in mine. So I'm very grateful to you to be able to be here, to be able to share this with other children and families. Yes, I'm a little sappy, but thank you, Tammy. It really, really is. It's no small thing when you walk beside another person or even share your experience. And it seems in the moment like a very little thing, but what it can build to or create in a person's life is very meaningful.
From the moment we talked on the phone the first time, I literally felt a blessing in my life at that moment. And I just think it's fascinating. This last year, we've been on this journey together to help get your story into the world. And I think it's also really amazing how we're connected in a way that, like, I had such great anticipation for how your book was going to influence my life as a
Oh.
grandmother.
Mm.
And I was getting ready to send a first birthday gift the other day to my great niece, and it didn't feel right. And I'm
Mm.
like, why can't I figure this out? Like, why can't I get this book sent? And then when my granddaughter pulled your book off the shelf, I said, because that's supposed to be her birthday gift. Because
Wow.
every child from the youngest is supposed to experience how special today is. And that's
Oh.
what you do. And so I want you to know, as my tears are coming, I'm right there with you. And the blessing has been amazing. And I can't wait to see, as much as I love being in Texas, um, where I get to cross paths with you again and spend time with you, Maria. Thank you
Oh.
so much for being a part of my life. And thank you for being my guest on Pass It On today.
Oh, thank you, Tammy. You literally passed it on to me, and I'm
Thank you
so
for
grateful
listening
and
and being
so
inspired
excited
to
to hear.
exercise your own courage muscle. Please leave us a rating on whatever platform you are listening. For even more, you can go to www.authormyday.com. Remember, you only have this one life, this one day, so always author your day. Thanks for listening to Pass It On, connecting soul to soul.